Welcome to TEDCO's Entrepreneur Expo in downtown Baltimore, where the region's top business owners, innovators, and investors have gathered to network, grow, and celebrate the vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystem in Maryland. I'm Chris Frew with BioBuzz Networks, and I'm honored to be here today with Bret Schreiber, Senior Vice President of Science and Technology at Fulton Bank. Bret, welcome.
Thank you, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here today, and it's great here to be with all these innovators, entrepreneurs, and startups from across the state and the region.
It's a packed house today, and I know you've got a lot of clients here today, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about, before we get started, just tell us a little bit about Fulton Bank and the work you do?
Yeah, Fulton Bank, traditionally we're a $34 billion financial institution based in the region, and I lead an effort that really specializes in on life science and technology companies. So our goal is to really provide gap and catalytic funding to support innovators, entrepreneurs, and startups. We'll scale big, but our niche is really trying to find those early stage companies that are trying to get to the next level, trying to get FDA approval, trying to raise some funds and give them some of the support that they need to get to the next step. And at the end of it all, we're also a bank. So, but we feel that we want to be more than just a transactional institution where money comes in, comes out, but we want to be a growth partner. And so we not only are providing debt and equity capabilities to these companies to really get to the next step, but we also spend a lot of time connecting them to the really key resources that they need to grow, connect them to key players in the ecosystem, and connect them to funders to help them get to the next step. So again, we really want to be more than just that transactional institution where they keep their money, but really want to help them grow as companies and grow the employee base and ultimately grow the economic growth and vitality of the region too.
You don't often see banking as part of the life science and technology early capital. How is your program different and what Fulton's developed different?
Yeah, it's true. So when I first started in banking, someone told me that banks don't get dinged for saying no. They only get dinged for the yeses that go bad. So when you think about it, most traditional banks start off with a no culture, right? They're really risk averse, and they don't really want to lose their investment. So they really start off with a no and back into a yes. And so we really want to start from a yes culture. And so we do things a little bit differently. We have our own separate credit policy. And what we do is we are providing support based off of the story of the company. We have to look at the financials. We're a bank. We have to. But we're lending more off of the story and the performance metrics today. Like we're here at TEDCO. And TEDCO is an incredible institution for providing money. And we know, we've heard today, the very story is that you just can't go to TEDCO and say, hey, give me an MII grant or something like that. There has to be a there to it. And so what we do is we look at these key performance metrics like receiving a grant from TEDCO, and we'll piggyback off of those different types of programs to provide the support to get to where we need to. So we're just measuring success in a different way, I think, and that's a lot different than banks have done. We're a yes, we want to get it done, and we try to go there from being innovative and outside the box in terms of how we measure success and provide support for companies.
You started Fulton started this program when you joined a few years ago.
Yep.
Can you talk about how the program's grown and maybe some success stories? You don't have to put names into them, but some stories you've had.
Yeah, we were starting our 6th year, so we started right before COVID. I think ultimately, I think some of the success is, a lot of companies go with, went to bigger institutions because of the name, and until they needed that named entity and they weren't there. And so, what we've done is really provide a lot of personal level type of support. And in terms of successes, we've really become a bridge to kind of what's next for a lot of companies. Again, I won't get into specific names, but we've got a lot of companies that have government grants or big contractor types of partnerships, and those entities, for example, take 90 to 150 days to pay an invoice. Or if you got a government grant, you have to perform a certain amount of work, submit the invoices, and then wait 3 or 4 months to get a payment. And what is a company going to do in between? And so we've really become that bridge in between to help keep the company going and to allow them to continue to invest capital in terms of running the day-to-day operations of the company until they get to that next kind of performance metric or pay. And so we've got a lot of companies that fit into that space, and we've been able to fill the gap. I think the other key thing is that what we've seen here is that 2022, 2023, and 2024 have been very difficult for venture-backed companies. There's not a lot of new dollars out there. And so we become a bridge to kind of 2025. And a lot of companies are, I think the saying is survive till 2025. And so we've been providing capital to allow companies to get to that next stage. And we work with them and connect them to wherever we can to help them try to find capital. And so, again, we become that early stage catalytic funding that most banks don't venture into.
And what's your relationship with TEDCO? Can you talk about the either programs you collaborate on or any other relationship?
Yeah, so TEDCO is one of our best partners, and I think vice versa. TEDCO is it's a fantastic institution. Funny story, I was actually in the government affairs world 25 years ago and actually testified for the creation of TEDCO when I was working with Johns Hopkins. So I've been around since the infancy of TEDCO and have worked with every single executive director and CEO since. But we support the same type of companies that TEDCO does, the life science and technology companies. And so TEDCO is it's an early, in Maryland particularly, it's really the first dollars in for a lot of these companies. And that really being the first dollar in gives us the traction and the confidence that we need to go and co-invest on top of what TEDCO may have done. And so for us, TEDCO is that early validator of companies, and then vice versa. What we've been able to do for TEDCO is that a lot of the TEDCO portfolio companies, we speak their language. We're not just traditional bankers that look at net income and debt service coverage, but I've been in the industry a long time, and so we understand what there is these companies. We understand the value proposition. We talk their language, and so for TEDCO, we become a great partner in terms of a bank that understands who these companies are and where they need to go, and the exact type of partner that TEDCO would like working with their portfolio companies to help get them to the next stage. And then in the future, Troy and I are exploring, between Fulton Bank and TEDCO, partnering on some, later stage venture type of opportunities that support companies that are, really have achieved the next level status and are leaving the state of Maryland and going to Boston, Silicon Valley. And so we're exploring ways in which we can work with those companies to try to keep them here because it's not just first stage dollars, but the life cycle of a company, even after you raise $20 million, you still need, and they're burning through a lot of cash, and you still need capital, and Maryland is losing a lot of those companies to these other regions. And so we're going to work with TEDCO to try to explore solutions to that. We haven't solved that yet. That's coming up. That's a what's next type of effort, but that's ways in which we're continuing to work on TEDCO in the here and now and in the future.
How important is a strong ecosystem and events like this today for the ecosystem?
So one of my former bosses used to say the most dangerous place to view the world is from behind a desk. And one of the things I tell our companies all the time is that random collisions are probably more important than seeking out areas that have a lot of capital, because you just don't know who you're going to run into that might be that lifesaver of the company that might say, oh, you know what, I've heard of you, or I'm looking to invest in a company like yours, and you're just not going to get that from sitting behind the desk or doing a Zoom call. You have to get out, you have to network, you have to meet people, and Maryland has one of the best ecosystems for doing that. You're doing that. You've done that for many years with BioBuzz and workforce genetics, and a lot of the work that you all do is you're creating these really critical events where people can network and see each other and collaborate, because again, it's finding that one person that says, oh, I know someone that can do, or someone that has, or someone that can help you, and events like this where there's 900 people that are out there, there's going to be somewhere in that crowd that's going to be someone who's going to be your next champion, and you have to come to events like this in person to do that. And even if they can't provide funding, they can provide access to something that's going to help you, whether it's talent, which is just as key as capital, or it's a connection to a resource, or a connection to a student, or a connection to an intern, or a connection to something that's going to help these companies get to the next level. So they're absolutely essential.
Well, Bret, I appreciate your time today, and I appreciate everything Fulton does to be a champion for our startup ecosystem and so many of these startup companies, including BioBuzz.
Chris, thank you for what you're doing. One of those key resources that makes Maryland one of the best places to do business in the state. So thank you for your efforts.
Absolutely. Well, my name is Chris Frew, founder of BioBuzz Networks. We're here live today at the TEDCO Expo in Baltimore. Thank you.